They say Mary stayed a virgin, but Matthew says Jesus had siblings. Who's right?
While Jesus talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brothers stood outside, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, Behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand outside, desiring to speak with you. But Jesus answered and said unto him that told him, Who is my mother, and who are my brothers? And Jesus stretched forth his hand toward his disciples, and said, Behold, my mother and my brothers. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. This section is a clear contrast going on between the blood family and the spiritual family, with Jesus emphasizing the spiritual family over the blood family. Matthew has this story in here because it reinforces what Jesus said earlier in chapter 8 about let the dead bury their dead, and chapter 10, 34 through 39 about one taking up cross. These prior stories validate that the reference to Jesus' brothers in 12:46-47 is speaking about his half-blood brothers, which naturally brings up the last verses in Matthew containing Mary with 12:53 through 56 that say, And it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these parables, he departed thence. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogues, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, Whence has this man this wisdom, and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And his brothers, James and Joseph and Simon and Jude? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Whence then has this man all these things? Again, it's crystal clear that we are talking about Jesus' half-blood brothers and even sisters here, which is why Matthew called Jesus Mary's firstborn son. It was used in a birth order manner. Everyone knew Jesus was the oldest, and his older brothers and sisters were born sometime after the family had returned from Egypt. And if you're getting, into the book of Matthew, getting the first edition of it in the first century, is that please explain to me, where would you possibly come up or away with any of these doctrines? You can't. And at the end of the day, this is all that Matthew, the called apostle of Jesus himself, wrote about her.